let us close our eyes together and spend just a few minutes together in meditation. Apne rish karmaron bahar ka thoda sa shor kam kar do. If your mobile is on, please turn it off. And just allow yourself to have a few minutes of sinking deeply into that truth of who you are. Allow your awareness, your focus, your attention to pull inward rather than being attached to things in the outside world. The ever-changing ups and downs, successes and failures, gains and losses, pleasures and pain. Usually our awareness is fixed there. But instead, turn that awareness inward. And allow it to rest in that place inside of you that isn't changing. Allow it to rest in the eternal soul, spirit, consciousness that experiential reality that is you, which doesn't change. Allow the awareness to rest in that which is. Notice that every sound, every sensation is fleeting. It comes for a moment, then it's gone. Allow your awareness to anchor itself in that which isn't changing. Not the comings and goings of sights and sounds. not the constant flickering formations of thoughts and feelings. But allow it to rest deep within you. In that which is still. That which is infinite. That which is boundaryless, borderless. If you find that the mind gets distracted, it's okay, just bring it back. Bring it from the temporary to the eternal. Bring it from the changing to the unchanging. Keep that awareness sharp, open and aware, fully present. With that inside of you that is not changing in every moment. The space between your thoughts. Find that space. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level and rub them gently against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly open the eyes and lower your hands. Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with you all. We begin as usual with a question that's come in advance, and then We'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. If the ultimate goal of human life is to attain self-realization, God-realization, why is there existence at all? And what does our self-consciousness encompass? So this is the age-old question, right? If our goal is to become one with God, why are we here anyway? Right? If our goal is to realize we're one with God, and we've always been one with God, then why even go through this drama? What's the point? What is our sense of self? So, what our tradition tells us is that obviously we are one, unseparate, never been separate from the divine. That divine is in us, flowing through us, is in all, flowing through all. There is no distinction, there is no separation. And we've been born with this forgetfulness, that we forget who we are so that we may remember. Now, it may seem like it doesn't make sense. Why didn't God just make us born remembering? Like, what's the point? Pura chakar ka kis cheez ke liye hai? There's something very powerful when we remember. When it, rather than just knowing, but when it arises from within us, that awareness, that coming together. And hence, there we were, born in ignorance, and yet destined to remember, born asleep, destined to wake up, born thinking we're separate, destined to remember we are one. Self-consciousness, that lowercase s self-consciousness, is when people say, God, I'm really self-conscious, it means I'm kind of unsure of myself. It's a product of the ego. It's a product of the ego development that says, I feel separate from the divine, separate from others, separate from existence. And I feel very small in that separateness. I feel unworthy in that separateness. I feel not good enough in that separateness. Therefore, I want to hide, to kind of, nobody should notice me. I don't want to speak. I don't want to do anything because of this self-consciousness. But capital S self-consciousness, so that's lowercase s self-consciousness. That's the over-awareness of this physical body. I don't feel beautiful enough. I've got this horrible pimple on my nose. My hair didn't work out today at all. So I feel very self-conscious. I didn't study for the exam. I know the teacher's going to call on me in front of the class. I didn't prepare for our board meeting. I know the CEO is going to, point to me and ask for my opinion. So I feel very self-conscious. Lowercase s, self-conscious. Nervous, worried, small, separate. Capital S, self-conscious, is awareness. Awareness of the fullness of who I am, the oneness of who I am with the divine. That I'm not small, that I'm not separate, that I am all. Like when we pray and we say Soham. It's a meditation we use a lot in a prayer, a mantra we use a lot in meditation. It means I am that. I am that, capital T that. That's real awareness of the self. Consciousness of the self. Beyond the body, beyond the container. This is just a vehicle I've gotten. It's beautiful, it's amazing. It's a miracle what this human body can do. I mean, it really is amazing. If you look at all the things that this body can do, it's extraordinary. Nonetheless, it's a vehicle. A miraculous one, but a vehicle. Real self-consciousness is the awareness that I am not the vehicle. I am the driver of the vehicle. I am the one using the vehicle to get where I'm going. And when that arises, then there's no sense of smallness or separateness. Then there's an experience of oneness with all and a sense of infiniteness. So that's the type of self-consciousness you want to have, not the lowercase s self. Questions here? Any question that anyone here might have?
Mataji, today during the Aarti also you mentioned about giving our ego, giving our jealousy to Ma Ganga. You have mentioned that in your book also. Can you just explain the process how to do it, because directly it is not going to happen. What is the process of getting rid of these vikrutis in our...
Yeah, beautiful. So letting go is critically important. I have to let go of that which is blocking me. I have to let go of that which is holding me back. If I want to swim in the ocean, I have to jump off the dock or the boat or the beach. If I want to go in Ganga, I have to let go of the ghat, the steps. I have to let go of where I am, that which I'm holding on to, in order to really become who I am, where I'm going. I have to let go of that which is keeping me small and stuck. And in almost all of the cases, it's something in our mind. We may blame things outside, but it's almost never really another person or situation that's actually keeping us stuck. Sometimes it is, every once in a while it is, but most of the time it's in our mind. And that's where our scriptures have taught us, man eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. It means the mind is the key, the master key, you could say, to your liberation, your freedom, or your bondage. So how do we let go if we know I'm full of anger, grudges, pain? How do we let go, he's asking. So there's a lot of techniques. You referred to me talking about it in my book. When I was sent to Ganga by my guru, Pujya Sadhviji, to let go, I didn't know any techniques. I hadn't studied anything. I hadn't ever meditated. I didn't have any techniques. He told me, stand in Ganga. Hold Ganga water in your hands and offer to that water all of your anger, all of your pain. And I stood in Ganga a really long time. But I was able to do it. And so I'll share some techniques that may help you get started, but don't rely on the techniques. We all have different relationships to that which makes us stuck. Some of us are more visual, some of us are more sensory. We have different ways that we connect. It's why we meditate in different ways. It's why we have different Isht Devtas. We have different characteristics, different ways of interacting with ourself and the divine. The main thing is just that you do it. So one technique is the breath. When you stand there in Ganga, if you can do a really deep exhalation, and just on that exhalation, really feel that whatever it is that's keeping you stuck, that you are just gonna just really, exhale deeply, fully. Let it go, and you can feel the body relax with it. You can really even get into it with the body. Just a full, whatever you're holding on to, let it go. Feel it flow through your body. And you can do it a few times. You don't always get it out on the very first time. Do what I did, what Pujya Swamiji told me, which was hold Ganga water in your hands and then go within and literally find that pain, find that anger. I remember diving into the deepest crevices of my being, facing memories, facing feelings that I hadn't looked at in years and years. Facing all of that, eyes wide open. And really pulling it out. I mean, it's like if you think about doing a cleaning of your room and you literally move the couch. It's not the superficial cleaning where you just sweep along it, but the real cleaning where you actually move the couch away and you see what's behind it. And even though oh my God, it's going to be 8 years of dust because I haven't moved that couch in 8 years since we moved in, you do it anyway. Because I've got to clean it out. So you move it. And you do so with courage to be able to look at it. If you're not prepared to look at what's blocking you, you'll never be able to do this. Because in order to let it go, you have to be able to look at it. It's not the, just go away situation. It only works when you really see it. And then you consciously are able to let it go. So close your eyes as you stand in Ganga and go within, eyes wide open, to see what is that source of anger. See it. Don't push it away. Don't tell yourself a story about how it's okay, wasn't so bad. You're not writing a story, you're just seeing it. And then you pick it up, you take it out. Like you would the dust behind the couch or whatever it may be behind the couch, something worse than dust, who knows what's there. But you pull it all out. And you then literally, in your mind's eye, offer it into the waters of Ganga that you're holding in your hands. And then offer that water to Ganga. And do so with a prayer that you may be free. But in order to be free, you have to be prepared to really let it go. And what that means is you don't get to hold a grudge. You don't get to use whatever's happened to you as an excuse for why you're not showing up in your life, why you're not present with love, with integrity, with compassion. You don't get to use it as an excuse anymore. You've given it. So try those. It's not so much about the specific technique as it is about your preparedness to be ready, to let it go. You know, another thing that I used to do was write and then burn it into ash, and then offer that ash into Ganga. Make sure it's really full ash. You don't want to be offering paper. But when it's fully ash, offer that into Ganga. Sometimes a more visual ritual of that sort can be helpful. Offer it into the fire. We're going to do yagna fires. Offer it into the fire. Let the fire burn it. Take that ash of the fire. Offer it to Ma Ganga. What matters is that as you're offering it, you keep pulling it up. You keep pulling it up. You know, it's like if you've ever tried to clean a pot that you cooked khichdi in. Maybe that you kind of overcooked khichdi in, right? You clean and then you rinse and then you realize, oh my God, there's still some left. And then you scrub it again and then you rinse and you realize there's still some left. And you scrub it and you rinse. And you keep doing this until actually all of the khichdi from all of the inner parts of the pot is actually gone. You keep doing it, you keep doing it. Until that hand, as it moves along the inside of the pot, right? Suddenly it's very, very smooth and there's nothing in there and you know it's all actually gone. In that same way, when you can move that breath, move that awareness through yourself, through your inner experience, without it hitting up against something, you know you've given it. And you're in the right place. Beautiful. Other questions? Yes, in the back.
So I have a question based on a personal experience. So 3 years ago, I tried to follow this philosophy of letting go of everything.
I'm sorry, 3 years ago you tried to follow?
This philosophy of letting go of everything. So in the process of doing that, I started meditating. And at one point, I could even meditate with the open eyes. But at the same point, I stopped caring about everything else. I stopped going to office. I stopped caring about what I used to eat. So 6 months later, I had gained around 25 kgs weight. I didn't have a job. I was thrown out of my house by a landlord. So I had to get back to the rat race again. So I have two questions. So my question is, what did I do wrong in the process? And the second question is, if everyone follows the same path in the universe, if every human being follows the same path, then how the world is going to work?
Okay. So 3 years ago, when he went through this philosophy of let it go, he ended up just meditating all the time, lost his job, lost his health, lost everything. What did he do wrong, he's asking. And if everyone adopts this perspective, then what's going to happen to our world? So let it go does not mean check out of life. No one's saying that. No one's saying let go of life. Let go of your responsibilities. Let go of your dharma. No one is saying that. We're talking about letting go of that which is keeping us from life. See, I'll tell you from personal experience. You gave me your personal experience. I'll answer you from mine. The first question, he was speaking about how on the banks of Ganga tonight I talked about letting go, and how in my book I spoke about letting go. Well, what I had spoken about was letting go of my anger, my pain at abuse that I had suffered. And I had spent the first 25 years of my life, or 20 years after the abuse had happened when I was very young, living as someone defined by that. So I lived with that sense of, this is who I am. You carry it with you. There's something wrong with me, I'm bad, I'm dark, I'm wrong. I mean, when you abuse a small child who can't understand that it's because you're sick, the poor kid thinks it's because there's something wrong with them. And despite having excelled on every level externally, thrived and succeeded on every level externally, I mean, I was succeeding at the highest level. But inside me, I was suffering. Depression, anxiety, feelings of not enoughness, that there was something wrong with me, constantly trying to prove myself. The letting go that I needed to do was letting go of my anger and pain at having been betrayed in the way that I was betrayed, and having been abused and harmed in the way that I was abused and harmed, and letting go of the anger and the pain as well as the identification. Because of course, for me it served as this great excuse, right? Why did I have trouble trusting? Well, of course I had trouble trusting because, my God, I had experienced this as a kid, of course. It was this perfect crutch for every excuse that I needed in my life. Why was I stressed? Why did I live in fear? Why did I battle with depression? Why did I battle with eating disorders? Why did I suffer in that way? Well, because I had experienced this as a kid. It was a perfect ready-made excuse that gave me a beautiful crutch and reason for not stepping up to the plate of my life as a divine being, as an embodiment of the divine, as love, as truth, as consciousness. I was so identified in this false self. The experience, the story, the drama. When was he going to say sorry? When was he going to make it up to me? When was he going to get his karmic due? You get all caught up in that. Everything that happened in life was a trigger, and oh my God, you know. And so Pujya Swamiji looked at me and he said, you got to let this thing go. Tonight. So that's what prefaced me letting it go. It's not about letting go of life. It was the opposite. Holding on to that anger and that pain kept me from living. It kept me from being able to love fully. It kept me from having the courage to step into who I am. It kept me from trusting myself, God, the universe. So that which we need to let go of are the hurdles so that we can live. In your case, it seems like what you experienced was, oh, this feels really nice. This is calm and peaceful. Why in the world would I want to go back into a stressful office place situation when I can just sit here and meditate and feel peaceful? Why in the world would I go back into punching a time clock, trying to deal with work and responsibility and relationship? I mean, if I can just sit here, why not? But that's letting go of life. You're not here to just meditate all day, every day. I mean, maybe for short periods of time, for retreats, a few days, a few weeks. But Lord Krishna made it really clear in the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, Arjuna says, forget it. Let them keep the kingdom. I'm just going to go and meditate. Now you'd think, being God, Lord Krishna would say, great, I've been waiting for you to say that. Go, meditate. But he didn't. He said, not so fast. That is not your dharma. You are going to stand right here. You're going to pick up your bow and arrow, and you're going to fight this war. And that's as clear, unequivocal of a teaching as I've ever heard. We are not meant to drop everything and just decide we're going to meditate our life away. Especially not when it leads to, illness in our physical body, in our relationships, in our world. I mean, you gaining, 25 kgs? That's a lot of weight. It's 55 pounds for anyone who thinks in pounds. What that means is that the meditation was numbing you. And when the numbing wore off from the meditation, you used food. Because even if you weren't exercising, you still wouldn't have gained 25 kg if you weren't overeating. But meditation can be used as a way of avoiding life, as can food, as can drugs and alcohol and so many other things. But you found a way to use spiritual practice to avoid life rather than to embrace life. You need to use spiritual practice as a way to embrace life. So let go of the blocks so you can step up to life with open arms, open hands, open eyes, fully ready to walk into it. Because you're not held back by fear, by anger, by grudges, by some limiting story you're telling yourself about yourself. That's what you let go of. And so in terms of what would happen to our world, well, nobody's being told to let go of the world. We're all being told, do your duty. I always say this is not the time to say, I'm going to sit this one out. Our time in history right now, I don't know about other yugas, but right here in Kali Yuga, it's an all hands on deck era. It needs all of us to show up, to be there, with love in our hearts, with courage, with conviction, with openness, with compassion. It's the only way we're going to get out of this darkness, is through love. If we push it away by closing our eyes to simply avoid everything, the darkness will continue. We have to bring back that light to the darkness. Thanks for the question. Other questions? Yeah. And then here.
So, like, there are two types of teachers. One like Buddha, who directly see a problem and solve it, ego, anger, whatever. And other kind of teachers who say, do yajna, do arti, do puja, pray to God. So, why do we bring God into all this? Why can't we directly see the problem and solve it?
So, even the Buddha was not talking simply about problem solving. What the Buddha taught was, find the Buddha nature inside yourself. Buddha means the awakened one. His teaching was, and remember contextually, the history of the context was, he was born at a time when rituals had kind of overtaken the people of, I don't know if all of India, but at least the people of that area of India. It was a sense of, if you want to experience the divine, truth, peace, you need to do all of these pujas. You need to engage all of these priests and pujaris and intermediaries between you and divine. And so when the Buddha went and sat under the Bodhi tree and had his awakening, the message he came back with was not problem solve, but you don't need any of these intermediaries. The nature of the Buddha is within you. And if you follow this path of meditation, of righteous living, of introspection, I mean, Buddhism is actually a very intricate path. If you actually study it, a lot of people think it's not. It's a very intricate path of how we live, how we understand our own psyches, the psychology of Buddhism is very, very, very deep, very profound, very complex. And it's work that everyone is supposed to do to understand themselves and to come out of darkness. So it's not just close your eyes also and meditate. It's use these techniques, use these paths to clear away the gunk so you can see the Buddha nature within yourself, so you can experience awakening within yourself. Now, that's one way. It's a beautiful way. Other ways are what's given to us in our tradition, given to us in the Gita and other scriptures, of paths of bhakti yoga, for example. So if that path of meditation and introspection and contemplation and living according to those precepts is not something that works for you, well, here's another option. Just love God. Simple. Just love God. Pray to God with love. That's it. If that doesn't work so well for you, no problem. Just serve. Just serve, just see God in all. Recognize that you are a tool in God's hands. Just serve. We're given all of these different paths, these different yogas. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, or we say yoga, or we say marg, a pathway. So the path that the Buddha taught is absolutely a beautiful, powerful path. It's especially a powerful path for people for whom the idea of God or a religion that is about devotion or a specific construct of God, that doesn't really appeal much to them. But for people for whom they've got a connection to God, a love of God, a belief in God, a faith in God, a relationship with God, well, we have other paths also available. None is better, none is worse. None is right, none is wrong. It's just one option. It's like today, billions and billions of people around the world are celebrating Christmas. They're finding their way to God through a Christian tradition, through worshiping Jesus Christ. Another path, another way. Pujya Swamiji always says, God loves diversity. He loves diversity. Diversity in what we look like, diversity in how we live, diversity in how we speak to God, what names we use, what forms we use. That it's never about making other people like us. It's about loving your own contribution to that diversity, to that beautiful garden. So whatever path works for you, follow that path. And love it for its diversity from other paths that others are following. As long as you don't harm anybody, or yourself, or the planet, as long as it's a path of connection and love and truth, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Namaste. Am I audible? Yes, right, yeah. So we humans will have regret in everything, mostly everything. So
Can you speak a little bit louder, please?
yeah, is it audible now?
No.
Yes. So we humans will have regret in everything. Mostly it might be career, relationship, or education, or whatever. We'll have regret in everything. So, but end of the day, all those doesn't matter. When our soul leaves our body, all those doesn't matter. So what do you suggest anyone to do on everyday basis so that one day when their soul leaves their body, they'll have minimal regret or no regret?
Beautiful. And we'll take this as our last question this evening. What do we do? How do we live so that when our soul leaves the body, we don't have any regrets? Well, I've never heard of anyone on their deathbed say, God, I wish I made more money. I've never heard of anyone on their deathbed say, God, I wish I left behind a bigger house or a nicer car or more jewels. I've never heard of anybody say, God, I wish that I had put more people in their place, that I had given more people a piece of my mind. I've never heard anyone say, I wish I fought more, or I wish I shopped more. What you hear people say is, I wish I had loved more. I wish I had served more, given more, helped more. I wish I had connected more deeply with God, with myself. I wish I had slowed down. to realize the perfection of every moment, because I'll tell you one thing, when it's your last day on earth, every moment is perfect. You just can't get enough of them. You want to hold on to every moment. So people regret, of course, that they lost so many moments, thinking they weren't perfect. So the best way, I think, to make sure that we have no regrets is to live our lives loving as much as we can, sharing as much as we can, serving as much as we can, being as anchored and grounded and present in every moment as we can. They say, I'm paraphrasing, but they say something like, after you're dead, no one's really going to remember what you said or did, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And so just make sure that whoever you interact with, that they walk away from that interaction feeling loved, honored, celebrated, seen, touched. And do whatever you can to give back as much as you can to the planet. And honor and celebrate every moment you have. Don't waste any of them. And I think if we can live by that, not losing ourselves in little things, whenever that moment comes, we may not want it to come, but at least we won't have any regrets. At least we'll be ready. It'll also make every moment up until then much nicer as well. So it's not only better planning for the trip, it's actually a much better plan for your life up until when you go. Beautiful. Have a sacred and divine and wonderful rest of your evening, everyone. I look so forward to being together again tomorrow. A very beautiful morning and day, and Merry Christmas to our family joining us from all over the world. And so much love to you all.